Hey everyone, it's Ben. Hope everyone's doing well. Today is the fourth part of my week-long San Francisco Film Noir series. Can't tell if people are really liking this series. I'm not getting a lot of feedback on it, but like I said at the beginning of the week, I'm going to do it up through Friday, so tomorrow will be the last day. And the film I'm going to talk about today is Zodiac, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. Love this film 100%. Next to Girl with Dragon Tattoo is my favorite film by David Fincher. Absolutely brilliant film. And I was disappointed that it didn't get more respect when it was in the theaters. I think a lot of people went into it thinking it was just going to be this murder mystery, not really realizing it's based on a true story. And it deals with just pretty much all of the logistics involved when it comes to trying to track a murder, like a serial killer, somebody that's murdering people, and what the police have to go through in order to get warrants and things like that, and also what it did to the Bay Area at the time, because it was a very famous case, and it's an unsolved case. So it still is very eerie because this was never, the Zodiac was never caught. And there were several suspects that they thought could possibly have been the Zodiac. So, really excited about talking about this film, and stay tuned for the review. So, Zodiac. Like I said, it's a awesome film. Zodiac came out in 2007, directed by David Fincher. It's based on the book by Robert Graysmith. The book is the same name, Zodiac. It was adapted by James Vanderbilt. He's actually the one that's doing the new Spider-Man reboot. And the score is done by David Shire. The cast is Jake Gyllenhaal plays Robert Graysmith, Mark Ruffalo is Inspector Dave Toschi, Anthony Edwards is Inspector William Armstrong. You have Robert Downey Jr. as Paul Avery. But you also have an amazing cast of character actors that play a variety of roles in the film, and I'll just go over some of the character actors that are in it. Brian Cox, John Carroll Lynch, Elias Koteas, Candy Clark, Chloe Severi, Dermot Mulroney, and Philip Baker Hall, just to name a few. So the story of Zodiac is the movie deals with a serial killer known as the Zodiac, who taunts the police and newspapers in the San Francisco Bay Area with his letters and ciphers. And through the course of the film, you follow the investigators and the reporters as they try to identify Zodiac and figure out his next move. The primary focus of the film is the impact the case has on the lives of the reporters and the police. And the events take place between 1969 and 1991. Now, I think there was a couple things going against Zodiac when it first hit theaters. Number one, I think just because the case had been so long since anything had been mentioned about Zodiac, prior to the film being released, I think a lot of people, especially younger generations, aren't aware about this, this happening that occurred, but it all happened probably before a lot of people were born that probably went out and saw the movie. Also, since Fincher had done movies like Seven and Panic Room, I think a lot of people went into Zodiac thinking it was going to be along those same lines, where you'd have detectives that were trailing a killer and that there would be some kind of resolution at the end. And that's not the case with Zodiac, because Zodiac, even though they did fictionalize some of the relationships and a couple of the settings, for the most part, Zodiac is 100% true. They had to add some fictional elements to, to get a narrative going. That was one thing I was always told in screenwriting classes and in creative writing. You can never write a 100% nonfiction movie or book. One of the things that they did change up for the movie that wasn't something that occurred in real life was the relationship between Robert Graysmith and reporter Paul Avery was not as close as it was in real life as it was depicted in the movie. With those things in mind, Zodiac is one of those films, for me at least, that is very haunting to watch, and I think it's because of the unknown element about it. You don't know who he is. There's several factors in the film that point to various people that could be Zodiac. One in particular that was the focus of Graysmith's book that I won't reveal here for people who haven't seen it or read the book. I've read the book. So I know that when they did the screenplay for the film, that was the road they chose to go. Even there's a behind the scenes on this special edition where James Vanderbilt said, this is what Graysmith believed, so we as the filmmakers, including Fincher, believed this, and that's the route they went with the movie. But there's just some haunting scenes in this film, and the way Fincher did it is, there's a scene at Lake Berryessa that scene in itself is very haunting. I remember going to the movie theater though, and people were laughing in that scene because I think people didn't realize, hey, this is something that really happened, and the dialogue in it is pretty much verbatim of what was said during the actual incident. But I don't think people know how to relate to films like this that are based in reality, because so much that comes out nowadays is based in fiction where, it's something like Saw, which I enjoy. I love the Saw films, but I don't think people can take the fictional elements and, if it's something that's based in real life, people don't know how to relate to that because they think, oh, this is impossible to have happened this way. But it is the way that it happened. There are some terrific performances in this film. Jake Gyllenhaal, who I'm not a huge fan of, is amazing as Robert Graysmith. I really liked him. He was very relatable. Did a really good job in this role. And Mark Ruffalo, who I was kind of a fan of before Zodiac came out, after seeing this, he's become one of my favorite actors ever. I just really like Mark Ruffalo, and other films that he's done since I've been equally impressed, and I'm anxious to see him in the Avengers this summer. Anthony Edwards I've always been a fan of. He's great as Will Armstrong, and of course Robert Downey Jr. I think this was like when he was sort of on the comeback, because this was a year before Iron Man would come out, and he's great as Paul Avery. Very charismatic, really holds the screen well when he's up on screen. I mean, does a great job in the role. But yeah, I don't want to give too much away of this film because it's really one of those films like The Game that you have to watch and experience on your own. I will say that it's not a story that's wrapped up in a nice little tight ending, because everything in it is open-ended, and the actual investigation is still an open case. They never caught Zodiac. They had quite a few suspects that fit the descriptions that a lot of people said were Zodiac, but it never panned out. And what you see in this film is not, tracking this killer. What you see is all the links that the inspectors go to try to get a warrant to detain the guy they think is Zodiac, and what loopholes they have to go through. I mean, it's exhausting just to watch, and how long everything took, and what the whole thing did to the Bay Area at the time. I mean, it's fascinating to watch, and I just can't recommend this film strongly enough. It's probably my favorite film I've talked about this week, next to The Game. Just it's one of those films that I could watch many, many times, because I've always been interested in investigations, and the fact that they had so many people that were saying they were Zodiac, and all of the loopholes that they had to go through to try to track them, and there was so much going on in this film. It's exhausting to even mention, but all I can say is that Zodiac is an amazing film, and people need to check it out if you haven't. It's definitely worth a rental. I think it's worth owning. Like I said, I've watched it millions of times, practically. I mean, maybe not millions, but I've watched it quite a few times, and I enjoy it every time because it's such a fascinating film. And I've actually been to Lake Berryessa, and what I'll do is I'll include some pictures of me there at the end of this video, because I went there in late August, and it was very creepy, and I had never been there before. My wife and I decided to drive up there, and it scared the hell out of both of us, so we left. But I have some pictures, and I tried to find the location where Fincher shot the scene where the two kids are attacked by Zodiac at Lake Berryessa, and he actually was able to pinpoint exactly where the real attack took place. Like I said, I tried to find it. I think I found it, but I might not have, but I did the best I could. But I got some great shots of the lake, and it's very eerie. And like I said, that scene in particular really sticks out to me. The city is put to good use in this film. There's a lot of really cool ways that Fincher shows the transition of time. There's a lot of great there's some CGI that they did that makes the city look like it did back in the late 60s, early 70s. Just great use of special effects, and it's very, you can't tell it's CGI at all. So kudos to Fincher, and great movie. So, 10 out of 10 for this one. Recommend it 100%. I hope everybody enjoyed this, and tomorrow will be my final film in this San Francisco Noir week. I thank everybody for taking the time to watch, and let me know your thoughts on this movie if you've seen it, and also let me know your thoughts on this little thing I've done this week with the noir films, because I can't really get a gauge of what people think of them. Not a lot of people have watched them, and I'm just trying to figure out if it was worth it, or if there's other things you guys would rather see from me. But I don't always have figures to talk about, so I kind of wanted to try something different. So I appreciate it, and thanks a lot, everyone.